Hello there and welcome back to step 2 to your AI journey. So today we are going to learn about the control structures in Python. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into the code. So I have created a control structures.py file here in the same project introduction to Python. So let's see how control structures can help us to control the execution of the statements in the Python. Okay, so there are three kind of control structures. One is sequential, so by default Python executes the code line by line. Second one is the conditional, where we have a check of the conditions, and based on that conditions we decide whether the statement needs to be executed or not. And third one will be the iterative, where we need to repeat some kind of statements till a number of lines. Okay, so these are the control structures, and how can we control it using some loops. Okay, so let's jump into that first. So let's start with the if first. Let's say I have a variable 50 and I want to check if my variable e is greater than 10. Okay, and to start the block of if, okay, you need to give a colon, and if that is e is greater than 10, I want to print like greater than 10. All right, let's execute the code. And as you can see, I get the greater than 10. But what if this number is not a greater than 10? So if I change a equals to 5 and re-execute, you see nothing there, right? Which means we are controlling this print statement based on this condition. All right. Now, let's take another example. If you notice, we have a colon to indicate Python that this is the start of a if loop. But how do you understand where it is ended, right? So there is no end keyword or something like that, right? So in Python, we have something called indentation. Okay, what is the indentation? Indentation is nothing but format your code after the start of this loop. Okay, so either that indentation will be a tab or a 4 spaces, which is the standard practice. You can also do a single space. Okay, but this print statement has to be indented after the loop. Okay, so what does that mean? So let's take another example. Let's say if I have another condition, if a is equals to a is less than 10. Okay, and I indicated that this is a start of a if statement, and I want to print e is less than 10. Immediately you see there is error here in the print statement, right? And if I just hover over it, it tells me that indent expected. So even if I run this program, it will not execute, right? And I get this indentation error. So to resolve this error, what I can do is I'll just give a space and this will resolve, right? And let's say I have another print message here. Okay, another print message. Now Python understand with the indentation like this print line, because it is indented with the space, or I'll just give a tab. Okay, so this line belongs to this if loop, but this print, it does not belongs to the if loop. Okay, so this will be not a part of this if loop. So if I rerun program, you see another print message executes no matter whether my condition is true or false. And how can I check this? So currently a is less than 10, but what if I change a's value to 50? You see another print message always prints, right? So this is not a part of the if loop. So this is how Python understand where the loop starts and ends. Okay, so if I ident this print as well, so now this both the lines will belong to the if. Okay, let's rerun. Okay, and now this print statement is not getting executed because a is actually not less than 10. Okay, So this is one thing you need to remember about this indentation. Otherwise, your code will not work in a correct fashion. Okay, let's move on to if else and else if, or you can say elif. That is a short form for else if. I'll just remove here. I'll just explain if else first and then we'll move on to elif. So let's say a equals to minus, if a is greater than 0, I'll print it as a positive number. Okay, but let's say if it is not a positive number, as in my case it is a minus 50, in that case what I can do, I can execute else block. Okay, and I'll print it as a negative number. All right, negative number. Let's execute this. Okay, sorry, if it is a something is not getting executed here. Okay, let me debug this first. Oh, sorry, negative number. I can see a negative number. Okay, so this else part is getting executed here. Okay, because this condition fails, so it will jump to the else part and else print will be executed here. Okay, similarly, let's say you have a multiple if else condition. So in that case, you can use a elif. So let's take an example of that. Suppose a is equals to 0. What I'll do is, if a is greater than 0, I'll print as a positive number. Okay, I'll print as a positive number. And suppose I want to check another condition, else if. Okay, so this is how other languages support, but here what I can do is elif. Else if, elif is basically else if a is less than 0. Okay, in that case execute the print statement as a negative number. Okay, so now this if elif, okay, I can do one more else after this if. Okay, so I can do else and print. So if this is not a positive number, this is not a negative number, then it's a 0, right? So I'll just print it's a 0. Okay, let's execute this. And as you can see here, it's a 0 because my a value is 0. If I change to 5, I should get a positive number, right? If I change to minus 5, it should get a negative number message, right? So my code is working as the else if, sorry, elif. Sorry for that. Okay, let's move on to a nested if loops. Okay, so let's say I have a variable a equals to 1, b equals to 2, c equals to 3, and I want to identify which one is the greater number among these three. Okay, so in that case I can use a nested if loop, and let's check that how it will work. If a is greater than b, okay, so if a is greater than b, then I will also check if a is greater than c or not. Okay, so I'm nesting another if loop inside the if. So if a is greater than b, okay, and if that is true, what I can do, I'll just message a is greater. All right, and suppose a is not greater, right? And then we need to check with else that, sorry, if a is not greater than c, that means c is greater, right? So c is greater. What if a is not greater than b, right? That means we need to do a same condition with the b, right? So what I can do is elif b is greater than c. So if b is greater than c, obviously b will be the greater number, right? So I'll print here B is greater. And suppose if B is not greater than C, then again C is a greater number. So I can do with the else part. And I can print C is greater. Okay. So this is how you can nest multiple if else loop. Okay. So this if and else is inside this if. Okay. And this elif it belongs to this one if, and this else belongs to this if. Okay. So this is how you can do a nesting. I'll just execute my code and I see C is greater. So if I change A to 10, I should get a message A is greater. If I change B to 20, then B is greater. Okay. So this is how you can do a nested nested loops. Moving on to a for loops. Okay. So in Python, actually, it's pretty simple. The for loop is very simple in a Python. What I can do is for number in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's say I have a 5 number series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this series, it will pick a number one by one. So 1 will be taken into a number variable, then 2 will be taken into a number, 3 will be taken into a number, and so on. Okay. So let's check that how it works. So if I print current number in loop, okay, and I'll just print that number. Okay, this number print, whatever number gets here in the range, it will get printed here. Okay, so let's execute that. So as you can see, current number in loop is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it takes, so this is what we call a iterative. Okay, we actually execute this for loop till the range ended. Okay. Next one, another variation of a for loop. Okay, so let's check that out. Let's say I have a variable start equals to 1, then I have a variable end equals to 10, and I have a variable, let's say, step equals to 2. Okay, now what I can do with the for loop, same thing, except here instead of that number series, I can do a range. Okay, so here I'll start with my start variable, end with my end variable, and step will be a the execution. Okay, how many steps you need to, or how many increments you need it here. Okay, so if I print it out, I'll just print this thing again. Okay, maybe I'll print another more thing here. Just to understand it clearly, something like this. Okay, I re-execute. Okay, so for this for loop, what happens? It starts with 1. Okay, because my start variable is 1. Okay, then it increments that number with 2, because step is the increment. Okay, either increment or decrement. So it increases that number with a 2. So now my next number is 3, then 5, 7, and 9. Okay, and when it reaches to a 10, that is end, right? It will not execute. So end is exclusive, start is inclusive. Okay, so this is how you can do another variation for a for loop. Okay, then let's move on to for else loop. Okay, so here I think we should check few more variations for the for loop. So as you can see here, all 3 parameters I have given. What if I have not given end and step? Okay, if I given a for with only one number in a range. Okay, so let's check that as well. So for number in range 10. Okay, so just notice that I have not given anything. Maybe I'll print another print statement before this. Okay, So only one in the range, as earlier I was given all 3 steps, right? Here I am giving only a 10. Okay, so what will happen in that case? So again, I'm printing this number and execute. As you can see if I'm not given a start, right, it will take 0 as a start. It will go till 9. So end is, this is the end. Okay, and step will by default be a 1. Okay, because it is incrementing a number as a 1. Okay, so let's check another variation of the for loop. So here what I'll give a start number and the end number. Okay, so as you can see, 1 2 3, so it started with 1 and ended with 5. As this is a exclusive, so I will not execute. Let's check another example. So let's start with 1, end with 7, and step by 2. Okay, so 1 step by 2. Okay, so this I think you already seen here, but only thing is here I have given a variable, so the values will be replaced from the variable. Here I can do this as well, direct numbers. Okay, what if I want to decrement these steps? Okay, so then I need to use a negative number. So what I can do is, let's start with 5 this time. Okay, in the loop on 0 and maybe decrement 5 by -1. Okay, let's see what is the output. So as you can see, it starts with 5, then decrement the number by 1, right? As you can see, here is a -1, and then ended on a 1. So here 0 is exclusive. Okay, so let's do another control structure, which is called a for else loop. Okay, so this is mostly not in other programming language, but this is in a Python. Okay, so let's say for number in range of 10. Okay, I'll just print a number, and I can do else. Okay, so earlier you see else we are doing with if, but here we can do this else with a for as well. Okay, so print, done, and I re-execute. So you can see 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Okay, 9. And when this condition is not true, it will go to the else part and print the else statement. That is the last statement it has printed. So this is how you can use a for else loop. Okay, then we have a while loop. Okay, so for a while, let's say I is equals to 0, and I can do while I is less than 10. Okay, I'll start the while loop with a colon, then I'll print this number I value, and I can increment I equals to I plus 1. Okay, so this was the assignment operator, as we have already seen, like I is equal to I plus 1. This is a short form for the same. Okay, and let's execute this. So as you can see, it started with 0. Okay, then incremented that value 1 and ended with 9. Okay, because of this condition. So pretty much similar to the for, but here we need to give the initial value as is, then we have condition and then increment. Okay, similarly, what we can do here in the while else loop, again this is again in a Python, not most likely not in other programming language. So here I can do while else as well, where we can print as a done when the condition is not. Let's re-execute, and you can see similar to the for loop, we can have a while else loop as well. Okay, so let's move on to the nested loops. So nested loops nested if else loop you already seen, but we can similarly do same thing with the for, while, if, else. All these statements you can nested together as well. Okay, so let's check one of the example. So for number in range, let's say 1 to 20. Okay, so this will go from start to 19, and I will check if the number is divisible by 5. Okay, if it is divisible by 5, I'll just print %d is divisible by 5, and here I can do number. Okay, so here what happened, expected type int got none instead. Okay, something wrong here. Let me check. Oh, comma I have given, sorry. So this one, then what if number is not divisible, right? So I can do that in a else part, and I can do print. I can just print a simple number. Okay, so number is, and it's a number. Okay, so whatever number is not divisible by 5, it will be printed simply here. So let's run this. So as you can see, from 1 to 10, so when a number is not divisible, it will just print number is 1, 2, 3, 4. When it is divisible, it will print 5 is divisible by 5. So I have nested if else loop under the for. Okay, similarly you can do while under the for under the while, if, and vice versa. Okay, so there are multiple combinations you can do. So this is also you can do in a Python. Now let's move on to break, continue, and pass. Okay, so let's start with the break first. Okay, so I'll just print something like this so that we can understood what happens with the break. So let's say if I want to terminate the loop, okay, the upcoming statements on some condition, then I can use a break. Let's check with that. For example, so let's say for number in range 1 to 10. Okay, so I want to execute a for loop for a 1 to 10. So if let's say number is divisible by 2. Okay, so if that is a true, I want to break the further loops. Okay, and how can I check? Let's say after a break, I'll just do one more print, like this will not print because it breaks the control. As you can see, already I'm getting some error here, and if I just hover it, it is saying the code is unreachable. Okay, but I'll just keep it here for understanding. And in the else part, what I can do is I'll just print a number. Okay, so let's execute this. So you can see the break statement starts here. Okay, so range starts with 1, and when it reaches to 2, because 2 is divisible by 2, right? So it breaks all the upcoming iteration for that for loop. Okay, so these statements never printed. So this is how you can break the flow of the for loop. Okay, then we have continue as well. Okay, so continue, actually whenever that condition is true, you can skip to a next iteration. Okay, so this is where a continue will be useful. Okay, so I'll keep the same example, only thing I'll change it here at the continue. Okay, and here I'll print this will not print because it keeps the control flow. Okay, and that's all. Okay, rerun it. Let's see, 1 printed, 2 is not printed, 3 printed, 5 is not printed. 7 printed 9. So, okay, so whenever the number is divisible by 2, this print statement never reach. It pass the flow to the next iteration. Okay, then we have pass as well. Okay, so pass is something, this is just a placeholder where you are not sure what needs to be done. Okay, so this is kind of a null placeholder in the control flow that you can use. And let's take one more example of a pass as well. So pass. Okay, here instead of continue, I'll just write pass, and that's all. Okay, let's print it out. Okay, so pass 1. Okay, so here my condition is true. Okay, and the number is actually this number is divisible by 2. Okay, so it did nothing. Okay, that pass did nothing. It executed the wait, I'll need to change this. So this will print, actually this will not need, this will print because pass is just a null placeholder, okay, in the control flow. Okay, so and you can see pass does nothing. It went to the next line of statement. Okay, so this is will be useful when you are not sure what needs to be implemented here. Okay, in that case you can just do a pass. Okay, later on you can decide and replace the things with the pass. And if I re-execute, as you can see, this line will always get executed. Okay, so what would be the typical use of a pass? Okay, so most probably in a function, I can just give you a small example. Let's say my function we have not covered yet, but just give it a try. Okay, if you can understand. Okay, and I'll just write some comment here. Function is yet to be implemented. Okay, so this is my function. Okay, and I'm not sure what needs to be implemented here. So in that case, I'll just put a pass here. Okay, so this is a typical use of a use for a pass, and functions will see it in a next lecture. Okay, so that's all with the control flow in a Python. Okay, I hope you understand everything here. Not much to learn. Okay, just a simple control structure, how you can control it, and that's all. Okay, so stay tuned. See you in the next video where we will be learning the functions in a Python. Thank you. Bye bye.